Hey guys, this is a guide on how to find the military tank batteries in Escape from Tarkov. There wasn't really any updated guides out there that included the lighthouse spawns or other ways that you can get your hands on them. And most of the older guides were actually missing potential reserve spawns, so hopefully this video will help you guys out to be able to complete your regulated materials task, or even just to complete a daily or weekly task that requires you guys to find a found in raid tank battery. So for the tank battery, you do actually have a guaranteed way to get your hands on one, which is going to be by completing the Huntsman path big game, which was added in patch 13.5, and for this task, Jaeger does want us to eliminate Kaban as well as his guards, and that does include his minion Basmok as well as Gus. And after completing all of this, then one of the rewards for doing this task is going to be a found in raid tank battery. So if all else fails, then you can always rely on completing that task in order to get your hands on one. Now, some additional ways that you can get your hands on a tank battery besides looting in raid is by using your scav case, especially going the moonshine route, since apparently getting these scavs twisted does give you the higher possibility of them bringing you task and streamer items. But depending on the price of moonshine, you can also attempt the 95k case or even the intelligence folder option as well, especially if you do have a non-found in raid folder. Since both of these options do also have the ability to bring you a tank battery, just the probability is not as high. Another way that I was able to get a tank battery this wipe was by spawning in with it on a scav raid. So although it is pure luck, if you do end up playing your scav raid a lot, then every time that you do load in, then you do have the potential to get an item that you need. So it's always a good idea to check as soon as you spawn in. Another option I recommend is to check your daily and weekly task rewards to see what you can potentially get, since it is possible to be offered any item in the game for completing whatever monotonous task that the traders have drummed up that day. And it could be an easy way to get your hands on one of these items as a reward. And just so that you guys know, if you are lucky enough to get to loot an airdrop without it being camped by somebody in a bush from 100 meters away, and then it does happen to be a common supply crate or a regular supply crate, then you do have the chance to snag either a tank battery or an OFC shell from it as well. Now, aside from these methods, the tank batteries are relatively rare to actually find as loot around the maps, or at least for me, they are quite rare. And I have had a lot of people asking me for advice saying that they are also having issues being able to get their hands on them. And if you are lucky and then end up finding a tank battery, then you have the challenge of trying to extract with this 4x2 slot 43 kilogram monstrosity. So even though it is possible to find one on your scav, if that is the case, then typically you won't have a stim to use to offset the weight. Or if you have luck like me, then you will find a tank battery on your scav and then you won't have a backpack at all, or at least you won't have one big enough to allow you to even pick it up in the first place, which has now happened to me twice so far this wipe. The tank battery hard spawns can be found inside duffel bags, dead scavs, ground caches, and technical supply crates. And in my experience, I do tend to find them inside the technical supply crates on Lighthouse, but I have also found them inside duffel bags on Lighthouse and also Reserve. But as mentioned earlier, they can technically be found on any map in those specific loot containers. I just tend to have the best luck with the loot containers on Lighthouse, Streets, and Reserve. Now, there are a couple of hard spawns to show you guys on two separate maps, being Lighthouse and Reserve. And starting with Lighthouse, the first spawn that I will show you guys is going to be the tennis court down below the brown chalet. And inside of this tennis court here, there is going to be a pallet that is on the left side of the bench on the wall closest to the chalet. And the tank battery can spawn on the pallet here on the ground. The second place for you to check is going to be inside of the garage of the brown chalet. And as you enter into this garage, the potential spawn is going to be on the tool chest next to this SUV. And this is actually a fairly common spawn, and where majority of people do end up finding their tank batteries. After this, we will move down to the Blue Resort, where there is a potential spawn in the top floor bathroom. However, I have never seen it actually spawn here, so I'm not sure how common it is. And it is also important to be aware that the goons do have a potential to spawn at this area of Lighthouse, so if you do hear a whole bunch of unsuppressed fire, then it could definitely be them. And as you do get up on the top floor and enter into the bathroom, then the spawn will be right here on the ground by the sink. After this spawn, then I will be teleporting us over into the water treatment plant, where we can go over 5 more potential spawns. The first spawn is going to be inside the tent with the candles on the table just before building 1, so I am here inside the water treatment plant. Building 1 is going to be right here, and as we enter into this tent just in front of us in the back right corner, there is going to be a pallet next to a stove, and this is going to be where the first spawn is just next to the stove on top of this pallet. So after checking this spawn, then the next place that I am going to show you guys is going to be inside of building 1. So as we end up running up this hill and heading towards building number 1, we will enter into this water treatment plant building on this side. As you enter inside of building number 1, then you do want to keep left and then head in towards the center of the building. The second spawn will be here on top of some boxes at the center left side of the first floor of the building. And then I will show a picture of what it does look like. After checking this potential spawn, then I will sprint us over to building number 2, and just be aware that I am strictly showing you guys where the potential spawns are located in this guide in an offline raid. So I am moving around this area completely carelessly just to show you guys the actual spawns as quick as possible. But in an online raid, you or somebody else will have to deal with all the different rogues for you to check these spawns. And in case you are interested in that, I do have a guide on my channel on how to clear this area if you do need help with that. So as we approach building 2 from this side, then you do want to head into this door and then continue walking straight past this SUV in along this metal floor until you do get to basically the center of the building. And then on this box to your right hand side is where the tank battery can potentially spawn inside of this location. And then the final 2 spawn locations are going to be in the opposite side of the water treatment plant. So I will teleport my PMC over into the area where the helicopter is that we have to mark for easy job part 1. And just next to this helicopter on top of these pallets is going to be another spawn for a tank battery. After we do check here next to this helicopter, then we will be running up past the tanker that we do have to mark for a separate task and running inside of building 3, where the last spawn is going to be on the left side of the building up on top of a box, which is going to be up on the second metal platform. And it is going to be just up some stairs, and then the box will be just on your right hand side. And then this is going to be the final spawn that I am aware of on Lighthouse. If you guys are aware of additional spawns, then be sure to leave them down in the comment section. So now on to reserve. There are going to be several possible spawns on this map. However, in order to check all the potential spawns, you will require 6 different keys. And even though there are quite a few spawns outside of these locked rooms, the keys do lock 12 potential spawns behind them. So I figured that I would let you guys know that right off rip for this reserve portion of this task guide. So the rooms with spawns requiring keys are going to be the RBST with 4 potential spawns, the RBGN with 2 potential spawns, the RBMP21 with 2 spawns, RBMP22 with 2 spawns, the RBMP12 with 1 spawn, and then the RBMP13 with 1 spawn. And so now that you guys are aware of this, then I will bring you guys around the map to show you some of the different tanks and armored vehicles where the tank batteries and OFZ shells can actually spawn on pallets that surround some of these vehicles, or they can also be underneath the back area of the vehicles as well. So I have personally seen the tank battery around 4 of these different vehicles myself, and I will have the tank vehicle locations marked on the map now to show you guys. So starting at the opposite end of the map as the dome, then the K-Train buildings will be right here, and we are just to the left side of the Scavlands Co-op Extract, and underneath this tower is where the first tank that I'm going to show you guys is. So the tank is going to be just right here in front of me, and underneath this back end is where there can be a potential tank battery spawn. And then we are going to move over past this Co-op Extract building, and then on the opposite side of this is where we can find another tank with another potential battery spawn located at the back end of this vehicle on the ground. After checking here, then you do want to continue moving in this direction, where there is going to be a spawn next to an air raid shelter just behind these barrels next to a generator just out in the open. And then I will have a picture up on the screen on what it looks like if the tank battery has spawned in for us. After we have finished checking this area, then you do want to keep running in this direction until you do come up to another tank where you can have a battery spawn on the pallet at the back of it, and then you can actually have OFZ shells spawning up on the topmost part of this tank on top of the crates. And then the last spawn on this side of the map will be on the bed of a truck or in the back of the truck that is parked in front of the air raid bunker that is going to be in behind the Black Pond building. So I did teleport my PMC over by the K-Train buildings so that I can show you guys the 2 potential spawns around the food warehouse storage area that is underneath the K-Trains. So my PMC is here in front of the armored train building, and to my right is where the hermetic door location is. And as we head down the ramp into the underground section, then you do want to just be cautious since Gluhar and his minions can spawn down here. But after you do make sure that you're not going to get absolutely lasered by him, then you do want to make sure that you keep to the right. And then where the tank battery can actually spawn is going to be on the bottom shelf here to our right, just outside the PSP-1 locked area. And then the second spawn location down here will be on the opposite side of this storage area on the bottom shelf on the far left in between the PSV-1 and PSV-2 locked cages. And another tip for you guys is that you can actually bring in all 4 of these different keys for these cages down here to try your luck looting inside of each locked area, since you will have at least 1 technical supply crate per locked cage section, and the keys are relatively cheap, usually being between 20 and 40k. And if you do happen to survive a raid having looted this area, then you will definitely end up making your money back in a single run, and you'll also give yourself a higher opportunity to get yourself a tank battery as well. But if you don't end up having any of these keys, being the PSV 1 and 2 and PSP 1 and 2, then you will at least still have these 2 free shelf options for you to check down here. Now after checking this area, then it will teleport us up to the air raid bunker behind the RBST building, and as you walk into this air raid shelter, then you will see barrels on your left, and on the pallet behind these barrels is where the spawn is located. After checking here, then as you leave the shelter area, then on your left, then you do have this whole open field where you do have quite a few more armored vehicles where the tank batteries and also OFZ shells can spawn. So you guys can definitely feel free to check those out as you maneuver around the map as well. So now I will teleport my PMC in between the night garage buildings, and I will be bringing you guys into the RBST room. But first, there is a potential spawn in the first garage to the left of the White Knight building. So after we do check on top of this pallet, then you do want to continue all the way down to the end until you hit a grated door. And this is where we can use the RBST key. Inside of this room is probably going to be the most consistent spawn for tank batteries, and you will have 4 potential spawns in here, the first being on the pallets immediately to your right, and then also just to the left of this first spawn. And then on the left side of the room, you can have a spawn on top of these crates, and then lastly, there is going to be a spawn on the pallets at the back of the truck to the far right corner. This room is also really consistent for your OFZ shells as well, because they can spawn on most of the crates in here. And just that you guys know, you are required to come into this room for 2 separate tasks, so it does get a fair amount of traffic, so just be cautious of that. After checking this RBST room, then I will be teleporting my PMC back out in front of the White Knight building, where we will be going inside of this building now. And there are going to be a few different loose loot spawns for tank batteries and also OFC shells on the tables and black tool chests in here. So just make sure that you check around on all the surfaces in this repair area. We will also have 2 locked rooms to check inside of this building, being the MP13 key, which is going to be here on the first floor. And then inside of this room, then you will have 1 potential spawn on the ground behind the desk. And then the next locked room is going to be on the second floor, but we will have to go up to the rooftop and drop down to be able to access the second floor of this building. So once you do follow exactly how I do and then drop down the same hole, and make sure it's not the other one, because if you do use the wrong hole, then you will drop all the way down and then end up breaking your legs and landing on the ground level. So as you do drop down onto the second level, just as I am here, then the first door that we are going to be next to will be the MP22 key. And once we do go into this room, then there will be 2 potential spawns. The first one will be on the floor just to the left of the desk, and then the second one will be on the right floor area. And after we have finished checking the White Knight building, then we can go directly across and into the Black Knight building, where again, inside of here, you can have spawns on any of the tables and or surfaces that are going to be inside of the repair shop, and that's for military batteries as well as the OFZ shells. We are again going to have 2 locked rooms that we can check in here. The first floor, you will have the MP12 key, which is going to be right to the right of the stairs. And as soon as you do open up this door, then the spawn will be immediately at your feet once you do go in. And then the next room with the potential spawn is going to be on the second floor. And then once we head up to the second floor, then it is going to be the last door on your left, being the MP21 key. And then there will be 2 spawns in here. The first one is going to be on the table immediately to your right as you enter into the room. And then the second spawn is going to be on the far right-hand corner on the floor. After checking here, then there is one last key room to check, and it will be the RBGN key. So that key is used just before the underground bunker area. So I will show you guys how to get there from the surface now. So my PMC is just next to the helicopter and also outside of the White King building. So if we do turn around and then go into the White King doorway just below the Welcome to Hell paint, then we do want to take a left and then go through the grated door. And then we do want to go down the staircase, which is to the right. Once we get down 1 flight, then you do want to veer off to the right a little bit, where you will see a solid metal door. And this is where you can use the RBGN key. Inside of this room, it is going to be very small on the inside, but there is actually 2 potential tank battery spawns in here. And if you did happen to get a spawn, then you honestly can't miss it because of how small that it is. But honestly, I have never actually seen anything good spawn in here myself. But I figured that I would mention it just so that you guys have the option to check it, because maybe your luck is going to be better than mine. Now this task is required for Kappa, however it is a dead-end task, so you don't have to rush to find all your items in order to complete this task, because there will be nothing waiting for you after you do complete this. You basically can just passively work away on finding all these different items in your raids, and then once you do complete it, then that's great, otherwise you're not missing out on anything. And as mentioned at the start of the guide, then you can always bank on the tank battery from the Kaban elimination task, and you can just craft your OFZ shells if you need to. Or you can always just wait and hope that your scav case hits for you, but if you are desperate, then Lighthouse and Reserve are going to be your best bets, and then just checking the technical supply crates, duffel bags, and dead scavs. So hopefully you guys found this guide useful and it does help you complete this task. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching my video on this, and I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is just a couple of my different social links in case you guys wanted to connect more easily. I am primarily streaming on Twitch now multiple nights a week. So if you do want to connect with me or my community, that would probably be the easiest way to do so. And if you do come over to the Twitch and you want to join the Discord community, then just type !Discord or cord in the chat in order to get an invite link. And if you don't use Twitch, then I do have a link in the picture as well as a link below in the description. And we are growing and currently have an active and welcoming community with people of all experience and skill levels. So there will always be someone who could help to answer any questions that you may have. As always, thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching the video, and I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day.